the real world will teach you lessons you weren't prepared to learn. I hope that you won't need to make the same mistakes I've made over the years. We'll say, this is what I want to say to you too. It will save you a lot of headache and brain cells trying to strategize your way out of weird interpersonal situations in the workplace. Dealing with people is often the most challenging part of our job. Data problems and machine learning can be like a piece of cake compared to dealing with others. And then I wrote in a comment and then reshared this post. Danny, this is not only my favorite ever post on LinkedIn, meant very sincerely, but it's also the most helpful post to STEM people that I've ever read. I just cannot say enough good about what you were saying and how you said it. This is really good. Thanks, Danny. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Al saying, be like water, my all-time favorite metaphor, although I suppose it's technically a simile. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Tom,
Yes.
I enjoyed the post. I have some comment, but I think I have comment to Magdi first. She has
Please
some
go.
guests with her, so please
Yeah.
introduce the handsome.
Yay.
Hi everyone. Yeah, we are now two under one name. So he arrives this year. This is the proof.
Oh, congratulations, Nishant. And congratulations to you, Magdi, for having one of your sons first time face-to-face.
Yeah, exactly. It's so great. after 2 years and after like half a year work on this achievement, he made it. He landed yesterday.
So awesome. So awesome. Nishant, glad to see you looking German.
We are working on it, but actually on Bavarian, so not German, Bavarian. Yeah, working to transform him, and then I will hand it over to guys next week. Oh no, so next week.
Yes, we'll meet soon for sure. Yes, I think next Tuesday, not the next one. After 10 days, yes.
In February. Yeah. So the united now.
I am both overjoyed and extremely jealous from you and Guy. You know, it's comical. I think of all of our LinkedIn friends. I actually live closest. Well, there are some people in my area, not a lot, but there's people in my area. But of the people we see a lot of and love and appreciate, I'm probably distance-wise closest to Ben Taylor. We do have plans to get together and hang out. Then, surprisingly, the next nearest friend is Greg Coquillo.
Wow.
And a close second, a close third is George Berikin. So we do have plans to try to get together, but no, I would. I think I would. Yes, I think I would rather be in Germany right now.
Yeah, you would enjoy the snow now. We just came back. That's why we are late, because we were outside in the snow.
Well, that's awesome. It is perfectly fine to be late to these. And so just getting back to what we were doing, though, I thought with what Magdi and I had planned for the next few weeks, it'd be so great to just leverage off of Danny's post with regard to the fact that our workplace situations can cause enough stress to interrupt our ongoing learning and growing. And I think learning to deal with this stuff is a huge element of our ongoing learning and growing. And Garth, I believe you had something you wanted to add. Is that accurate, or was it just okay? Good.
I think what I want to say here, I don't think there is a silver bullet to deal with these situations. This is the only thing. That means even with all, let's say, how to deal with it internally, that means how it will be your reaction toward a toxic environment or toxic people or something. Yes, something that you can manage. You can train yourself for it. But don't always expect that when you train yourself to deal with this situation, that this will reflect positively in your work. Sometimes it will reflect negatively, but the most important is to understand that, for me, I'm talking to myself, to understand even this negative impact currently, I think it will be positive later, since you are, let's say, satisfied with the way that you deal with it. So, I mean, yes, there is a hidden point in all of this post. Toxic people, they are not toxic because they are toxic. Because they have different targets, and this target, sometimes it might be, let's name it, good, sometimes it will be bad, and it will stay hidden. So we don't have to expect, if we are always acting nicely and in a professional way, that this will reflect positively to us. It depends on where we are, and this kind of action, it's the way to discover where we are really. So this is my point only. And nice haircut, Sai.
Yes, Sai, beautiful haircut. And Al, we see you rowing, so we know you were being truthful. Keep going, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
now I think Manpreet asked a very good question here. How does a fresher, by the way, that's the Indian term for a newbie, deal with office politics and learning? Whom should one trust during learning the process in the professional world? I'm going to try. I want to hear others answer this, and also anything else you want to add about how Danny's post helped you, or questions you have about dealing with this stuff, anything. But one thing I want to say to Manpreet about her question here is, first of all, don't stress so much about what you see going on. Just understand it's not a matter of if this stuff's going to happen, it's a matter of when and how often. So if you learn to let it flow off you like water, if we keep going with the water metaphor, and just say, oh, I knew this would happen. And just say, just very calmly say something like, address the situation. I think go in and address it, but very calmly, like, oh, I seem to have frustrated you, or and Sai, your questions in the past weeks were a good lead-in to what we're discussing today. I've had conversations privately with many of you dealing with these kind of things. It's a spirit of do your best to don't take it personally. You're just another person in a long line of people that this person got frustrated with. They've got their own agendas, they've got their own pressures, their own stresses, and they shouldn't be reacting to you that way. But don't take it personally. Let it flow off. Hey, I sense I frustrated you. Wasn't my intent. I'm just looking for this. I can go try to find the answer elsewhere, maybe suggest someone else I talk to, how I go about learning it. Just do everything you can. Don't take it personally, and communicate, I'm not going to take it personally. Just reemphasize, I'm just trying to do the best job I can. Those are my thoughts. Now,
but like, I want to add just one thing. I feel at times, being a female employee, people don't take you seriously at times, your opinions. That's
Agreed.
Yeah. So I want to hear from others, but Manpreet, I think it's okay to say, be careful with that, because sometimes it can backfire on you. But I agree. I've seen people treat Sue differently than me, even when I'm standing right next to her. And I have to exercise some self-control when I see that. But it's not right. Even other women, at least in my country, will treat even women will treat other women worse than they'll treat guys. I hate it. Now, a good thing to do is, if you're aware of it, if you can point out a situation, go on ahead and say, you got to be very careful with this. And women, speak up if I say something wrong. Hey, I feel like you're not treating me the same way you treat the guys in the office. I hope that's not true. In other words, to lighten it, but to still bring it to attention, treat it as a possible suspicion. But I think it's always good to call it out if you see it and if it's obvious. But again, when people, what I've experienced, Manpreet, is when someone is treating me wrongly, if I just stay calm and say, hey, I don't think it's necessary for you to talk to me that way, I usually get a good response. Hey, Chris, thanks for showing up. So, Amir, did you still have your question? Because I saw your hand up earlier.
Yes, Tom. Hello, everybody. I had a similar question, although the situation for Manpreet and mine is different. My question was like the roadblocks that we face while learning. I mean, it often happens that you don't get a project that you want to work on, and you feel stuck, like doing something else, and not feeling challenged often at your workplace. And like it's been a while, I don't see my learning curve growing. Like it's not very satisfying to see. It feels stuck, and sometimes the managerial people or people at the senior level, they just don't, they are practicing some inefficient approaches that keeps you stuck, keeps you repeating the same things again and again. I mean, there's no point of doing the same kind of same things every day. So yeah, in that aspect I feel like I feel stuck. But I also wanted to know, like, if there's something, can I go ahead and say to my managers, or say to the people who are at a higher senior position, that yeah, this is something that I find inefficient, there can be other ways that this can be handled. And I'm not supposed to do such kind of work while I'm supposed to work on technology and provide technological support. So yeah, there's a kind of mismatch there, and that's what my question was, how to deal with that. Tom, you're on mute. Tom.
Yeah, y'all were supposed to bad lip read me. You
Yeah,
could have
yes,
said
exactly.
anything right then.
He saved you in this way because I was
He
going to
did.
start. Okay, but
I
okay.
was, yeah, thanks for saying me, Amir. So while I don't know, Al might have stopped rowing because he typed this. If you're the new person, and I really agree with what Al is saying here, best approach I have found is to reserve judgment and spend most of your mental social energy observing the atmosphere, procedures, work dynamics, et cetera. Now, just to give you some background, Al was a career, well, excuse me, Al, I used the past tense. Al is a Marine. Now, he's not active duty or anything, but he's a Marine. And that is a seriously intense environment. He's types more. Once you have an understanding of what's going on, that's the time to begin politely offering suggestions, not fixes. So, Amir, this is very important. I think first, pull a person aside and do the Stephen Covey thing first, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Seek first to understand, this is what Al's saying in summary, and then to be understood. Now, just say, hey, I see this process. Why do y'all do it that way? I just want to understand. And maybe don't even offer a suggestion, even if one's just burning on your lips. Say, thanks for explaining that. I just want to understand it. And then watch it and think about the absolute most considerate way to offer a suggestion, but do it another time and just pull up. It may be best to do it privately with one person and say, if you pose it as a question rather than a suggestion, that's even more powerful. You say, Have you ever thought to do it this way? What do you think of that method? Do you think it would help? And just listen, just understand further and go away and think more. I think be very careful when you're the new person with offering suggestions. Let's go to Gaith now.
Yes, I'm just related to Manpreet questions. Here, there is something about who to trust for something or to ask for something. To ask, you are able to ask. I try to simplify it as much as possible. For sure, you are able to ask any question since the question is related to what task is expected from your side or to the work you are doing. So that's good. No problem about asking. But about the trust, I think trust, it's not the value here. Sorry for this. I think the value or the hidden value that you have to keep it with you is antitrust. Don't trust anyone. Trust what is the internal, let's say, process is telling you. Trust the professional way to perform things, even if it's not enforced in the workplace. Try to create lowest level of this, let's say, official connection and follow it. And then experiment the trust somehow slowly. But in the beginning, don't trust. And nobody is trusting you at the end when you are a new buy. So at that point, it's similar to from both sides. Everybody, when he join new company, he is under test, and also he is testing the company. So the trust here is not a value. We have something in Arabic. If I translate it literally in English, it will be antitrust is a good habit. But I'm not saying that to tell everybody that I don't trust you. It's just only how to control your action. Don't be, I'm not saying to be conservative, but also don't be open badly. Don't have a big mouth sometimes. So this is what I really think about it. So if I connect to what Amir was talking about, also as part of understanding the culture of the company and where is the company is doing the best. For example, what is the real value of the company that it is offering? Sometimes this repeated action, it's the model of the business. They are working on producing a lot of products, so they want it as fast as possible. This is how they are doing. I'm not doing only from technical point of view, but always they want part of the installation or assembly line. So they want somebody to cover that point, and they want a huge amount of production. So sometimes it will help you first to understand why this is happening. And keep in mind, please, even I remind myself to that, your learning at the end, it's your responsibility. So if you want to go for something new and you feel it will be good, you have to learn about it first, practice it alone, and then when you do the suggestion, do it with the proof. At that point, it's not only a suggestion, it's not only an idea, you have something to speak about it. So this is my points only. There is also another question. I read it, but I forget what it was, but it was interesting also. Just
अरे ठीक है यार, कभी-कभी कॉन्फ्रेंस होता है, अटेंड कर लेना चाहिए. हाँ?
Bycast, you went off mute. If you intended to do that, we'll take you in order. Bycast, I'm not sure you can hear me, but anyway, we'll try to go on with that. Kim, okay, you're next.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
no, this is what I'm going to tell you.
Okay, good. Yeah, Kim, and you've been doing some great comments here in the chat. So yeah, we're eager to hear from you.
I mean, it's interesting. I think that there's a bit of a generational thing, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to go on the camera because I still look like I'm fighting COVID. So I'm just going to use my voice. But at any rate, I do think that there is a bit of a generational thing. I think that for my generation, for example, there was a big separation between work and personal life, and so these kinds of questions of trust and, you know, what someone expects or doesn't expect in terms of getting to understand and know a different organization weren't really issues, because it was like, you have a job to do and you do your job, and doing that job, you put everything in the context of that job. So if there was something that you didn't understand, you would be asking questions about the function of the job. It wouldn't be about how someone was interacting with you or any of the soft skills. It would be about the hard skills. And so I think that with soft skills, or with trying to sort of map out how you fit into an organization, or what kind of organization it is, one of the first and most important things is to try and figure out what kind of culture you're working in. Are you working in a hierarchical culture? Is everyone structured in a way that they're answerable to someone else above them? Or is it more of a team structure? And this kind of thing is really going to help you determine how you should be interacting with the people around you. Because if it's a team structure, then you can say, hey, we're all working on this together, and try and figure out how you can best play your role within that team. If you are all answerable to a manager, then you have to suss out what kind of manager you have. Is it a manager who wants to help you, or a manager who wants to help themselves look good? So everything is very relative to the situation. And as Tom had mentioned before, it's not something to stress about. It's more having a sort of objective ability to stand back and observe what's around you. And then, as Al was saying, figure out where the land lies and how you're going to navigate it. And once you have a better understanding of how other people respond to situations and how other people are structured within the organization, you'll have a much better sense of your own position within that organization. But, in my mind, when you start any company, it's not really until 3 months that you even have your legs. I mean, you sort of walk in and you're just learning and taking in so much and learning about what everybody does and trying to figure out what in the world you're doing. And after 3 months, when you're sort of like, okay, I need to do this, that's when you can start really observing what's around you. And no one's going to hold you accountable in those first 3 months for, whatever kind of problems they have with their own personalities and how they're going to push those on you. It doesn't really come until after the first 3 months. So that's just my feedback.
That's great, Kim. I think pointing out those division sounds like a harsher word than I want. Those markets, those life segments. There we go. Keeping that in mind is key. I agree. And what you were saying inspired me to share this before we go to Kaishan. It can be hard, but really take more together into the workplace as a new person. And I love what Al was saying too, the way it dovetails into what Kim was saying. Hey, observe a lot. And then when you have those questions, go ask them privately of one individual. Questions, especially if just a few questions, are usually, they show honor to a person that you would want their input. And if you don't, the huge mistake I made over and over was thinking how badly others had to hear the wisdom I wanted to impart to them. Ooh, slow down with that. What they are concerned about is you understand their wisdom. So, hey, leverage that. Do try to understand their wisdom first. It might seriously alter what you were thinking of saying. So again, seek first to understand, as Stephen Covey would teach us, and then go think about it. This is what I would add to his pithy statement. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Because you don't want to turn that into this method of, okay, I've understood you now. You're going to be so excited to hear what I am going to bless you with from the wisdom of my mind and heart. No, don't. Go off and think about what they said. Really, like Al said, think about the dynamics, the history of that organization. And, my confession to y'all, more together, it's just a modern thought of love your neighbor as yourself. Think about it. If you were the person that had been in the workplace for a while, you've already lived through so much pain and frustration, and you're struggling to get the organization to listen to you. See what efforts that were already ongoing you can join rather than trying to get the organization to see you as some new godsend of wisdom to them. Okay, I believe Kaishan was next. And Manpreet had to go for family reasons, but we can still talk about her question as we're able to also. So Kaishan, please.
Okay. Hope you guys hear me. Everything as well. Right. Just to add on what everyone was building on generally. When you now step into a workplace, there are a few things you would want to keep private as well as to observe. Now everything is integrated with social media. So one of the key points is keep your private life private and away from the pride of your work colleagues. So for example, if you have a professional profile or whatever the case is, keep your professional profile professional and keep whatever else you want to post social media wise privately. And the reason why I suggest this is that there would always be people looking who would want to instigate some kind of politics in the workplace. You do not want to give any of them any kind of fuel. You want to come in with a clean slate, leave with a clean slate, basically, and keep it as smooth as possible, right? Um, Another point I would make also is that if you view your experience as a learning experience, then you take whatever criticism that comes your way as learning too. And whatever you learn, although it might not be necessarily your job description or your role at that point in time, would help you at some point in time going forward. So try not to look at it um, as a burden or extra responsibility, but try to look at it as, okay, I get the more experience, I get the better my footing is to move forward. I'm not saying to let everybody walk over you. That's not good, right? You have to find a balance between standing up for yourself and learning things. But at the same point in time, while you're figuring it out, take everything together and use it as a stepping stone to move forward. Um, and the last thing I would point out is that I have had experiences with toxic bosses who basically have an ulterior motive and unnecessarily aligning with the goals of what your job description sets or the company has set. In cases like that, what has helped me personally was to keep a record of majority of my actions. So always have a paper trail coming back to whatever it is you were asked to do. So in the event it does not come down to my word versus somebody else, I'm not saying you have to do this all the time. I know there are a lot of integrated apps like Trello and Slack and stuff that allow you to account for things as you go along now, but just food for thought. Hope that helps, guys.
Yes, Kaishan, it does, and liked what you were saying. Okay, we know who's next. Oh, Vicus, there's someone ahead of you. Sorry for that. It's the mom and son team. Okay, sorry, Vicus. Right after them.
Okay. Yeah, I will start because I'm not sure Nishan is shy enough to share his experience because he has a lot of experience with this. So what I would say that, yeah, at the beginning, I would just be kind, but I wouldn't trust anyone. Maybe it sounds harsh, but I mean, you just try to be neutral. Yeah, you should be the nice person and the kind one, and just observe. So take it as an observation period at the beginning to see how these policies are, and not because to get to know the alliances, for example, within the team, but also to get to know that this is a place for yourself. Is this a culture, company culture you can fit in? And most importantly, if you wanna get into this culture, if this is the company you wanna work with, because it can turn out that this is not a place you can imagine. It can be that this is beyond that. There are these politics. It is much worse. I mean that it is a category of toxic culture. And then obviously it is better if you leave. So then you definitely don't make any consent and say that, okay, this is how it works and I have to adopt. No, don't stay in a toxic place. Definitely, because it will hit back. And for you, I mean, you will suffer and it will take time to normalize the situation. On the other hand, I also have to say that even what Kim said, that yeah, there is a team, that we are doing a teamwork and it works, there is a team spirit, but you know, this can change both ways. So even there is no team spirit, it can change to a team spirit because for example, you got a new leader, a new manager who is a leader. But it can be the opposite when you get a new manager who is a manager and not a leader, and destroys the whole team spirit and the team. This is what I experienced in the last couple of years, that we had such a great team and we really worked together very well, very effective. It was a joy to be there with the people. And then a new manager came and destroyed it, basically. So now, almost everyone is working individual. There are some connection, obviously. So we try to keep the important connections, personal connections as well. But it's tough. And then you can still stay in the system because you know the people around you, except the manager you don't like. So it will keep you there. But for example, then you are looking outside and try to find a community or a bunch of people who are like-minded and balance it out, I would say. This is that was my response, that I said, okay, I do not care. I don't want to be engaged so much anymore and involved, because the whole structure changed, even if it is a small company or not so hierarchical company, but it changed so much. But I love my work. I love a lot of colleagues. So I stayed and I said, okay, then I will do something in my free time which balance it out and gives me back that positive feedback and joy, what I would expect from a normal, optimized company culture. So so it is really individual how you can respond to that, and you have to measure that. Okay, where are my borders? How far I can take it? Is it something I can live with? I can work with these things or not? And if you can't, and you see the negative effects on you, that every morning you get up and oh my God, I have to go in the office, or I have to pick up this work. When you feel that is an alert that you have to change. You have to look for a place where you feel better, where you can do how you want to do, and you don't have these negative feelings, because then you will be negative and you can stuck there, and then obviously it is a direction to burnout at the end. And so just try to analyze, okay, where I am, is it a good place, not a good place for me? And the point is, you don't have to adopt to all the cultures if it's not your culture at all. You want to add something?
I was reading the comment which was given by us, like where he's asking how to differentiate between a toxic culture and a culture where you have to push. You know, the very example that you use, that if you have to follow a strict deadline, which can be toxic. You know, I don't think so, because from my own experience, I liked going early to the office in the morning when no one was there, so I can start working and end early. So, you know, for me, that wasn't toxic. What was toxic was that when I go to the office to start my work, the first call that I get was from my manager asking me about everything and how it's going, and, you know, to do this or do that. So basically, he was how should I say, I had a direction where I want to work like this, so I can finish my task like this, but he was always derouting. So he's like, no, focus on this first, focus on that first. So that is toxic, but going early to an office is not toxic. For me, it was good, you know. So you know yourself where you can differentiate between a toxic. Yeah, he was basically micromanaging me. Yeah. So you know yourself, you know, when you start working in an office, what kind of a job you're doing, Are you liking it? Are you learning it? Do you think it's going to help you in the future, or are you just there for experience? There are a lot of factors through which you can know whether it's a toxic culture for you, including the colleagues and how they are behaving, and with all the trust and everything that's going around. So just experience and learn from it, and you will have your answer at the end of the day. That's what I would say.
Well, it's clear that the son is like his mother. Very good points, guys. And Vikas, you've been so patient. We're eager to hear what you have to add to this.
Thanks, Tom and everyone. So, I work like couple of years, like MNCs and middle level of companies. So, I work for like some US clients as well. So, so my experience is not so well till now. So, for example, it's kind of a joke, you can say. Like some bugs in the problems pop up on Saturday. You will get a call from your senior manager. Please wake up. This is the time you have to prove yourself. And then you do after some time. And then luckily when they come with the your increment or whatever you deserve, then they go with the politics. And also this is something a loop kind of stuff. And and that is usually happen. So but we have to accept. And but that's why the second thought in mind, like we have to start our own like startups and ventures. So currently I'm looking into the like healthcare probably. So my focus area is like related to healthcare. So I'm just engaging with the people, learning from the people, and trying to grow myself. And second thing is that I learn very small thing for anyone, like a relation. Okay, it's a very small word, but it's a very big thing. So either in a community or in a business, relation is something where you will going to stand. Okay, what kind of community you are bringing a relation. So if you are building a good relation, like for example here all of you, so if I will bring one good relation with any one of them, so that is enough for me. Like so relation is something where you are going to stand. If you are so I care the you should be first, you should understand the person, and then you go with the behave like according to that relation. So thanks Tom, and just I'm learning. Okay.
No, thanks for sharing with that, Vikas. That was helpful. Backed up what we're getting at. And then Gus, you're next. Now, Gus, are you in the Canary Islands right now?
No. Just
Oh, no, I'm talking to Gus now. Sorry, Vikas, if I caused you confusion.
No, I'm back in Liverpool for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I just I returned because these 2 weeks has been like Thursday was the day that I was completing my final project to get my tutor qualifications from the awarding bodies here. Yesterday was a meeting to review the projects for 2022, where we have the awards and all of that, and that one that I share on LinkedIn. I want to basically support what I just heard. Magdi said that about like balancing out the culture, and then Kim said like had your period of observation about trust and all that. Well, my experience has been like in my stages when I used to work in the telecom industry, it was a massive structure with hierarchies and all that. There were different styles of leadership. So in finance, it was all control. So you didn't have like a chance of raising your voice or something. Logistic was more creative, let's say, but in commercial was more about empowerment, and the kind of leadership style was like empowering people. It was a really structured division there, but they were given the chances to trust in you, because I mean they were basically, it was the biggest department of the whole company, and they but for some reason they said like, you're here because we trust you and we think that you're going to do something for us, so therefore we're going to give you independence and autonomy. Then small company, when I moved to the UK, so in this case it's the toxic culture. I would like to add something that to support what Marty said, depending on what you're looking for. So I realized that in that company, on my first day, to give you an idea, there was a massive discussion between the head of operations and the manager of my region, and they were insulting each other and all of that. I was like, wow. Okay. I have 4 managers in less than 7 months. So that's another indication of the kind of company I was standing. Right. But then I basically burn up because I thought that having an advantage compared to the kind of skills of my colleagues had, because this was a company focused more into hard skills rather than technical skills. I thought I have a future ahead because there are a lot of things to do here, especially that they were thinking of applying digitalizations. And basically the toxic environment got me into it, and I ended up losing the job because of COVID. They rewrite the strategy. They said like, you're overqualified for us, sorry. And they made me what they call redundant. And then nowadays in this company, it's completely the opposite case scenario, where there is a lot of trust. There is a culture of support each other. Everyone helps each other. We all are connected. Let's say in one hand we have sales, and the other hand we have operation, and then we have the tutor section. We all work for the same goal. And there is a culture that there is no jealousy, there are equal opportunities, everyone is treated well, there is a culture of respect as well. And then when you sign up your contract, there is like the first thing they tell you is like, we have a professional development plan for you, and this is what we like to offer you. So it's something completely different. So depending on what you're looking for. So again, you need to make a balance. So in the previous company, in the toxic scenario, I was thinking like, yeah, I'm going to be the man because I have more skills compared to my colleagues. But actually, I made a mistake. I mean, I could have possibly decided to leave after 2 weeks of seeing all the things. I mean, because it was a blaming culture. Anything happened, there was someone trying to find who was guilty, trying to blame you, and I was like, no. I mean, but and if I look into their profile, because I follow them on their LinkedIn, and I have seen that they have more people. I mean, the rotation of I mean, people don't stay there. I saw people coming in, people going, because it's the sort of toxicity. But yeah, it's like what Matty said. I thought, I mean, I didn't like the manager, but I liked the objective of the company, because it was about helping people unemployed. And that was, for me, was great. And my colleagues were amazing. But the leadership style and also the cultural environment was completely toxic and was against things. Sometimes it can be a backfire effect, basically. You need to be careful. So my advice would be that, again, observation, and depending on the culture. I mean, in this case, I mean, to finalize this company now, I can see that there is that culture of support. So therefore, you won't expect someone like stabbing you in the back or something like that. And it's a lot, a great support from, I mean, all levels, from the managing director to the lowest level of the company, which is great.
No, thank you, Gus. Just a reminder to lower your hand when you're done. This has been really helpful. I think for me, more than anything, this talk helps all of us not feel alone. Workplace toxicity, workplace issues, it's not a question of do you have them? It's a question of, if it's so nice where you are are they just hidden from you? And I think, Al, you're kind of getting at that. Al, if it's okay, please come off and just share some of your thoughts you've been having while we've been talking.
Yeah, just, I think it's important, it's the easiest and cheapest contribution to any conversation to say, you just got to find that balance. But in fact, that's like the best practice for if there's a conversation you haven't been paying attention to and you're expected to contribute something, that's your go-to comment right there. But yeah, just I have some, it's not really an issue at work. I mean, it's just, I've named it and identified it, and it's not a culture thing necessarily. Just a couple of people that when they try to correct a problem, they're so careful and so, just treating everyone like they're pretty princesses. And, most people in our company are, they're functioning human beings. They're tough. They can take it. If you look right at them and say, hey, that project didn't meet the mark. Let's do better next time. No threats, no recriminations, just, hey, here's the standard. We came in a little below it. Let's tighten it up. And I have received well-deserved corrections from bosses that were 10 times more painful to receive just because they were just drawn out and so timid, and resulted in me almost looking at my boss like, so I did that wrong. Like, can we sum up the last 20 minutes of pain by just saying I did the job wrong, and here's the correction, and let's all move forward with our lives. And yeah, so it can really be a whole separate problem when people just course correct to being uber kind and uber careful, and so much so that you got to be able to look at something and say, that's a mistake, that's a mess, we need to fix that. Without crushing someone's spirit. There's a way that can be done in an honest and forthright manner, so that we all move forward with our lives and professions.
Albert, I have to ask you, because I see this a lot, actually. I agree with your point entirely, but I do think that people are much more sensitized now to feedback. I find it very hard to give someone feedback without them personalizing it when it's about work. And I find that very surprising. And I think it's, we had an employee that came in, and we do artwork, and you're working on a piece of art that's worth like $8,000+. And this girl was watching a movie on her phone in the background. And I was like, you can't do that. And she was like, why? It's not getting in the way of my work. And I was like, your work is that your eyes have to be on the artwork. And she was like, I can't believe you're being so harsh. And I was like, I just thought, I can't believe you're actually like doing this. And I was like, no, actually, you really can't do that. And I'm going to ask you to stop, and you have to stop. And, there's that side of things too. So I think that there's a constructive way to give feedback. And as you say, people have to be able to be direct enough to say what is and is not expected, and try and put it in a way that is not delivered in a negative way, not putting someone down, but there does need to be a lot more thickness, I think, for a lot of people on what they're able to listen to, because I think there's a lot of people who've never actually gotten any feedback. They've gotten that sort of that flat, politically correct, I'm going to say something without saying anything kind of feedback.
Yeah, or every team in the league gets the same trophy, even if they didn't win a game.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
I'm here laughing, Albert, because I can imagine you just came from a culture that's like, Marine, WTF, get your ass in gear. What the hell were you thinking?
It's funny because when Kimberly was telling that story, I thought back to a couple of years ago. In an office environment, I came across a Marine who was kind of haphazardly doing his job with one hand while playing one of these like flash games on his phone with the other hand. And it was one of those like role-playing games that, it's not Candy Crush. Like, you can't play it with 10% of your brain power. You're sitting there engaged with it, and he's trying to do military administration with the other on his mouse. I'm like, no, and it was like that. It was knife hands and F-bombs.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah, but I'm laughing because just picture you knowing that environment you came from, and now someone said, Albert, you're doing great work and everything, but over here there was this little thing.
Yeah.
Hey, would you just cut to it? I'm a man here. It's just making me laugh, knowing you've experienced both ends of the spectrum that way. I just had to laugh at that. And Kim, good points. I remember just a little point. I was manager of reactor operations at a research reactor at Texas A&M, and I gave a lot of public tours, and I loved doing that. I was good at it. And but one time there was this group of students, and there was this girl that kept chatting to her friend and everything. And after the tour, I pulled her aside and I chewed her ass out. I just said, "What the hell?" And she was like shocked. She said, "I am so sorry. You're right." And was the reaction I was hoping for. I did it more politely than I came across there. I'm still on that Marine, eat nails high right there. Okay.
I was
Yes,
going to say
Gus.
something about the feedback. I just recently, with these things that I've been doing recently with the training qualification, one of the modules was about how to give feedback. And they advise you to, obviously, to not hurt them directly. So you start like praising them first. And then you go slowly, getting to the point where you go very direct and address those issues or any kind of thing that they are against what we call the ground rules. For example, I mean, like, let's say levels of behaviors and things like that, acceptable behaviors and what they must do and what they cannot do during learning hours. So I guess can be emulated in a business environment. I mean, you had some regulation and policies and kind of like work code of conduct. So sometimes it's I can identify with the situation that Albert is describing, because I remember in this transnational company, there were times where the managing director was very protective of marketing, and you couldn't contradict what marketing was. Any decision that we're making, it was not allowed to be contradicted by anyone. And I remember sales, where it was the time that sales started to implement data analytics. And we were saying, like, one time we have a massive argument because we criticized a campaign that it was not focused on our needs. It was a big problem, but yeah, it's like that. Sometimes you have to be direct, but as Kim said, yeah, it's gradually the way you have to provide that feedback. Sometimes it's not easy to give feedback, but what I learned from this module is, like, you start by praising the person, saying, like, I like what you do, I like this, and I like that. I'm really happy with those things that you do. But then you go, there are some policies and procedures that you need to comply with. Go. Take it.
Thank you, Gus. Very good. And you'll have to let us know when you get to the Canary Islands, which I just have to confess, I'm extremely envious of you going there. Okay, Guy.
Just from this discussion, there is a question comes to my mind. Whenever we are finding a toxic people to deal with, or toxic culture, or whatever it was, how much we are toxic toward our environment, the culture of the company or other people. Why I'm asking this? Because sometimes it's just only coming from, for example, from one part of the world to the other part of work, and start working under your own, what you used to do, methodology. It can be toxic for others sometimes. So yes, spending time always this kind of, just like whenever you are a new company, you consider yourself as a kid, as a boy, just newborn, and then gradually you get used to it. For me, just one thing, I used to have it in myself. It's not a correct way to evaluate the company culture and the work itself. But for me, this is how I was deciding to move out of a company or to stay. After the work, if I'm talking happily about my work and with my family, then I will stay. If I'm silent and thinking what will happen tomorrow, or I'm talking badly about it, then I have to leave. So at the end, this is why I mentioned this, just to Kim's point, which is separating the life and what we are supposed to do in the work from our personal life. I don't think, even if it's efficient to make this separation, but I don't think it's doable 100%. Always it will reflect, and this reflection is where you are going to make your decision. So this is the only thing that also sometimes we have to think about, how much we are conveying the correct message to our colleagues. So maybe we find some bad feedback, but maybe let's say the forward propagation was bad also from our side. Let's name it. This is the first. The second point, it's really how much it's affecting our personal life. There is also third point. Maybe it's related to how much we are direct in our feedback. Sometimes we have to be direct, and I don't think it's bad to be direct, but I prefer within my work just to keep focus on the results. I don't care currently, for example, if someone who's doing whatever during the working hour, since he is meeting the deadline. Okay, so in that way, I'm able at least to give him a chance. Okay, he is faster, he is better right now. All the evaluation method that we are applying, it's giving him good from the result point of view. So either I have to change my plans to give him more tasks and suitable tasks to meet his possibilities and to let him grow that way. Otherwise, I have accept Candy Crush from his side. This is how I think about it.
Excellent, Guy. That was some good takeaways there. And I think the whole family would love to hear your summary points in between statements, not just mine. Very, very well put. Thank you. Okay, mom and son team.
Yeah, about feedback. What Guy said, I agree with that. It is better to give a direct feedback. But for me, direct feedback also means that you have to be objective and fair, which means that, we are humans, so we are in one way we are subjective, but when you have to give feedback to your colleague, especially as a manager, and you have your yearly assessment talks, and I did a lot of that, and sometimes I really have to be prepared for it, because I had to have tough discussions, and what helped me, that I tried to make the points which were objective and fair. And when I felt that maybe there is a room for discussion, then I always turn it around and I said, okay, am I seeing this incorrectly? Or what do you think in that situation? And I mean, and also factual. So that under objective, I mean also factual, that I always brought examples for the feedback, why I'm saying, especially when it was a negative. And obviously you have to balance between positive and constructive and negative feedbacks. And at the end, I was so glad, because they just confirmed that what I put in paper and what we were discussing and the feedback I gave, it was correct, because they saw also those points. And I said, okay, how can you make it better? So you always have to go, you have to always have to leave the room for the other one, either to say that, okay, when it happened, I had some issues, or what, because you don't know the background. You don't know what situation that person was in a personal level. So maybe that was the reason he performed that way. And, or in another situation, you just ask, okay, what do you think? What can you do better? Or what, or how, and also, how can I help you? That is very important. than when you deliver a message. And that's why I wrote before that it is really the way that you improve your communication, that the message can be harsh, but it should land softly. And that is the point. That is what you have to learn and find, this balance, that you don't personalize it. You are not pointing fingers that, yeah, you did that wrongly and why and so on, and that cost us I don't know how much money lost. No, so you have to be very factual, objective, and trying to find and give a space for the other one to give a feedback on it. And because it can be that it was just a bad day or bad phase, never know. So in one side you have to be objective, but yeah, try to be human as well. And that's why soften it, how you present it and communicate it.
No, that's great. You know, Magdi, something, and you'll have to do this with Nishant now, something I like to say to say, look, I want more together with you. I don't say it this way. I try to let my words and my attitude say it this way. I'm about to correct you. This is not easy for me. But in correcting you, I'm asking you to do the same with me. I'm giving you license to say, when you see something that you think is probably a blind spot I have or where I need to behave better, I want you to come help me too. And it helps me to show them that I'm doing this because I care. And even though I'm giving it, I'm willing to receive the same. And even if I were a manager, I would want to start out, I want you to feel free to share your concerns about me with me. And these concerns I'm about to share with you about you are because I care. Not just about you, but about our team and our team's reputation, et cetera. So very well put, Maggie. Thank you. And Aziz, you had your hand up. Do you still want to bless us with your thoughts? I hope so.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Aziz.
It's nice to be here again. I've been thinking about how to construct my feedback so that it will not be bad for everyone here. But as somebody that is studying collective intelligence, I think I will try a bit. So the issue of feedback, like I'm currently working on, I noticed that the problem is because there is no way you can give back to people that you will not be confronting them. And sometimes when you are giving this feedback, you may be objective while the other person is being subjective. And most of this time, that leads to conflict. And because people don't want to have conflict between teammates and things like that, they tend to keep that in. And while keeping that in, that the pressure gets accumulated. And if that person happens to be a bit higher than you, you get at one point burnt out. And the companies become society becoming an issue. And this is why I hate the mention of when people talk about company and we talk about company politics. I usually don't like that sentence, because that should not exist in a company where everybody is trying to aim for themselves and also try to improve their environment. What we should have is we should have cooperation. You know, everybody should see each other like I don't remember who messaged here micromanagement, where everybody try to manage each group, and these groups should not see themselves as counterparts. They should be a kind of linkage where everybody responds to what is going on. And one thing I'm trying to do to solve this problem is that I'm looking for how do people in company give feedback without having to confront each other or without having to mention them. So I put one platform online whereby companies can have sections, maybe according to each department. Then they will also have a hall, you know, like on this platform, whereby people discuss issue, they ask questions without having to mention them. They bring up issue and you comment. When you comment, people can like your comment. They can comment on it as well, and that link goes. And by that, you will tend to, as the manager, the worker, everybody you solve issue together, and that keeps your company going. And the person that is doing the bad thing will know that that matter is, being targeted at him, even though they are not mentioning names. So you can't hold anybody responsible, and you can't be angry. So, and which is a very free tool. If anybody is interested, I would like to give that to them to just use. It's kind of, they will just register, but I didn't want to say this so that it will be like a kind of how do you say it? Like I'm advertising something, yeah. So, and that's just it. So we shouldn't be having a kind of politics in company. Yes.
Aziz, totally agree. I do think that a number of that is the question of whether or not you have good leadership from above. And it really is difficult when you have like a larger company, because sometimes you'll have multiple leaders at different levels of the organization. But I have had good leaders and good managers, and I've had terrible managers. And the difference is just so astounding when the culture that somebody creates, not even wittingly, sometimes people are just so wrapped within themselves, or so narcissistic or toxic, that they don't even realize the effect that they're having on their teams and the people who are working with them. And I think that sometimes a good way to approach an environment that does have a toxic member in it is to really try and funnel and filter what that person is doing or saying, and find ways to work around it with the other people, so that you can still have a positive environment. You can still try and achieve your objectives. And, I wonder what everybody thinks about this. Like, how would you go about trying to exist and thrive in a company with bad leadership? What are your thoughts?
Can I go first?
Absolutely, you started it.
Yes, I just want to respond. Most of the time we know this is issue of leadership, but what is the definition of good leadership? To everybody, leadership is different. And I believe leadership is circumstantial. Like if a leader decides to be nice to everyone, that doesn't mean that everybody in the same in the company or the team should be related in the same way. But most of the time, a manager will want to be like rigid one way to everybody, which it has to be individual, And if a leader doesn't understand each individual, like what works best with them, how do you give back to them? Do they prefer you give them instruction as a team, or they prefer like one-to-one relationship? Like kind of, though it is very hard for many leaders to do, but that is the problem. A leader needs to understand each individual and know how to deal with them individually. So.
What do other people think? Guys, what do you think?
Now, this is a good example about how the leader has to deal when there is no answers, for example. Just put someone on spot and throw it on it. Okay. Now I cannot let me say something here. I didn't see this manager that all the team under him love him. I don't think there is such a manager in the world first. I don't think it's even good to have this kind of manager. Personally, even currently, my manager, he is my friend, but I'm trying to separate that. That means during the work, I act with him as a manager at the end. Now, what is the good leader? I think it's, again, I will back to what Magdi was saying. The good leader, he is the person who try to be fair and try to not personalize the messages or the correction that he is active on. At the end, we are not evaluating the person as a person. And the evaluation, it will be directed by the results. So this is my point. So at the end, who is the good leader? Who is the person who is able really to give credit to his team members, beside I'm not going to say it's punishment, but yes, give the correct correction, the suitable correction when it's needed. So all of the time we are thinking about the harsh messages that we are trying to receive or to submit. But I think also there is another part, which is how much we are able to give credit to our team members when it's suitable, either on time, on site, or either on the longer term, for example, in the annual assessment or something like that. Yes, to be here, just I want to highlight one thing. We are talking always bad about micromanagement. Okay, it's bad method to follow. But also, I think, let's say, close discussion, it's something good. So moving from micromanagement to close discussion, it can help a lot also. Let's say, to build not a good leader, but good leadership relationships, or good, yes, something like that. Just building a methodology for the leadership more than looking for a good leader. Something like that. This is maybe the best thing to do. This is also aligned with that, with what Aziz was telling us about the policy processes and what we are able to find in the company or the place. Yes, it's more related to building a good leadership, let's say, culture, more than looking for the person. Again, the leader, he is also a person, and we don't have to personalize the messages against them. So all of this coming together, I don't know, I think it's something related to how we are acting toward toward our daily tasks, how much it's needed. Again, I think the best thing to do is the close discussion and just go out of personalizing the messages and give credit when it's really deserved.
So I respond, I totally agree, guys. I think that, it's interesting. I think that there's a number of roles for a good leader. I mean, the way that I see a good leader is somebody who trusts in the people on their team to build them up and to make them do more than they think they're capable of. So I'll give an example. When I was in consulting, it's very fast paced, it's very intense. And we were working on lots of big projects, and we had a big analysis that involved a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of projecting a certain market. And one of my analysts was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I don't think I know enough. And I said, no, you can do this. You just have to ask when you're having trouble, like you can do this. And she didn't believe she could do it. And sometimes you have to encourage people to do more than they're capable of. And in my mind, there's a lot of people who might not feel comfortable with that. And so as a leader, you have to decide, like, is it okay to try and push someone to be their better selves from the work perspective, or, to respect their wish to not do something more? And the way that I see it from a business perspective is you should always err on the side of trying to get them to do more, because sometimes people are just anxious, or they're thinking that they're not capable of doing it, and they have to overcome that blockage to be able to do it. And if they still feel like they can't do it, at least you tried. At least you see, okay, so this isn't what you're strong with. Let's try something else, or let's figure out if you want training in this, or let's figure out how we can get you to be more, engaged in what you're doing. Because most times people I find always complain that that the work is not asking them to do enough. And then when work suddenly asks them to do a lot, then they complain about, oh my God, I can't do this. Like, this is too much for me. And there has to be a sort of give and take. There has to be like a parlay, a back and forth of, okay, let's try this. And if this doesn't work, let's try that. Because it's true. Everybody has a different style. Everybody has a different way of interacting, and everybody has different skill sets. But if you don't keep on trying different things on a job, you're never going to find out what those skill sets are. Sometimes you get pushed onto a role or responsibility that isn't within your skill set. And you suddenly realize, wow, I'm actually really good at that. Like, that's something else I could do if I wanted to do that. And it's important to do all those things, I think. And I think leaders have a role to play in making people do that.
I want to apologize for Magdi, just to add one point. Its question comes to my mind, and really I need your feedback on it, or your answers. What if the person is in place that he is leader, but not officially? That means he is in place, he has to lead this team or this activities related to some project, but he's not officially a leader. That means he don't have the position as a team leader or manager, but at the end he's in that place. What is the best methodology to follow here, and how to, at that point, really how to go as professional person? And he is not really the leader, he is forced to be the leader. And okay, you might ask me, is this scenario appeared somewhere? Yes, it's appeared with me. So I need answers about that.
Can I answer?
I'm asking you mainly, and the others then.
Well, I actually just went through this, and it's really interesting because, it's one thing to be a leader and know that you're the leader and be able to take all the responsibilities that come along with that. And it's quite another when you find yourself in a situation where nobody is doing the things that you think need to be done. And so you kind of end up taking the lead because you want to be able to make sure that the project gets done on time, or that the things are done in the way that they're supposed to be done. And I think that the most important thing in such situations is to basically share your thoughts with the team, to say like, okay, I'm not the leader, guys, but like, this is a situation that needs to be addressed. And I think we should address it this way. How do you feel about that? I'm not, I think it's very important to make it very clear that you're not trying to be a leader, but that there's this reality out there of something that's not getting done. And so, you try and approach the team and say, hey, how can we best do this? And how can we best move forward? And at the end of the day, you're going to have to make a decision. It's a tough call. Do you just move forward, with, let's say, some of the people agreeing and not all of the people agreeing, if there's no direct leadership involved? And those are the kinds of things that I think become necessary in life. You have to decide, you make decisions and you act on them, and you see what the results are. But I think if you're transparent as you do it, then people can't really hold that against you. That was all.
Kim, you, just in case you were wondering, you and Gaith are still in charge. I am enjoying listening.
I was going to comment. Yes, I agree with all of this, Kim. And beside that, let's say this is one scenario. The other scenario is that I was in this position. I am the leader. Let's say in term that mean, yes, lead this team currently because we have to finish this. And at that point, it's starting to be, for sure, at that point, all the team members will say, why Gaith, for example, or why Kim, or why anybody? Because it's something assigned to me in one project, something like that. Now, here, yes, I agree with this methodology. Beside, just I tried, I don't know if this is correct or not. It works at that time, but I don't know if it's correct. I try to tell them that, okay, I'm just trying to get the bad part of the work out of your shoulders. I will carry it out so you can work in more relaxing way. So this is the part of the leader that I'm going to take. So from that point of view, they start hopefully to understand that position, how it's happened. And yes, I start acting like this. Yes, really, in all the bad negative feedbacks or delays appeared, I was carrying it out until we meet the plan that we are create to meet the requirement. So this is how I manage it. At that point, why I ask this question? First, because I face it personally. Second, because again, how much we are able to isolate our personality as a human from our professional life. I don't think it's doable, again, 100%. And sometimes we have to use the personality more. We have to make it more personal, but in a positive way, not a negative way, to keep going. I'm sorry, Magdi. Sorry, Aziz. I take a long time.
Right. I just wanted to respond to, but I think I'm the second, so I'll wait.
No issue, guys. Actually, what I wanted to bring in as a point, it is just mentioned by Suraj, that I think we have to make a step back and say that, okay, who is a leader? And leader can anyone. So there is a leading role or leading position, but the leader can be anyone in any position. So it is not, that is the difference between a manager and a leader. And in a project, for example, or a team, you can pick up a leading role, even you are not the manager of the project, for example. But if you are talking about a leader who is in a managing position or manager,
no, I want Magdi, I want to differentiate also between the professional life, that where we are getting the income, where are we getting the money from it, and also between any leadership might appear even in a picnic vacation. So yes, at that point, sometimes you are able to find yourself leader to your friends because you know that place better, and next time that someone else there. But when we are talking about our work, it might come with a benefit. So who will get this benefit? That means it's hard decision. Not only, it's not a leadership from that everybody is there. And for example, here in this family, and we know that somehow our dad is Tom. So here, nobody will try to think about why Tom. Okay, done. But in professional life, something else appeared here. And this is the critical part. Who will get the credit? This is the main target. Who will get the benefit of being leader? And how to reflect this to all team members. The big question here, it's not about performing the task. It's then when the task is done, who will get the credit for that?
Yeah, but
or how it will be splitted?
For me, that is the difference between a manager and a leader. Because if you are a real leader, then the credit goes to your team. And you are saying that, you know, guys, I'm leading this whole thing. I'm there for you. But it is a teamwork. And I'm here for you to, for me, a leader is also like a tutor. Mm-hmm. This is how I define it.
I like the idea. I like the idea, but I feel this is not a leader. This is an angel.
Yeah, I have to agree with Raif. I think that business realities are not ideal. You know, the things that happen when you're on a job or on a project definitely are an entity and a world within themselves. And not even withstanding, like, I think that there's a difference. Gus had put up the Agile Framework, and I think that there's a difference there too, because with Agile, you have a team leader that is outside of the project, that's sort of managing everyone from the outside and is playing this objective role. And that's ideal, but and it's ideal for software development, and not necessarily for other things. But I think that that when you're in a situation where something is not getting done and somebody has to do something, yes, there cannot be, for example, 3 or 4 or 5 leaders, because this is inefficient. This is not going to get things done. People have to agree, like, who are the dominant players in that team, and who's going to be working on what, and who's going to be accountable for what. Those kinds of conversations, those challenging conversations, have to happen. You know, when you have a deadline, nobody cares if you're getting on, if you have, you know, a different level or a different role or a different assignment. People just want the job done, and your entire division might be hanging on the line if you don't get that job done. So I understand what Gaith is saying, because you know, it is a very difficult thing to say, you know, okay, we need to get this done, and to try and take on a role that has not been assigned to you, because then other people might say, well, who the hell are you to tell me that we have to work on this? And I find it very interesting, I thought you said that you took on the hardest parts. And I question, why did you feel it necessary to do that, as opposed to, okay, guys, let's break these down and work all on them together so that we all go through this challenge together? I'm just curious as to if there was something particular to that type of situation.
Yes, exactly, Kim. I because at that time, let's say, phrase it like this. Okay, we have, each one of us, he has his suggestion to meet the requirement. Okay, most probably I wasn't, let's say, democratic at that point. Okay, this is my suggestion. We will work on it. This is how we are going to split the tasks. And I'm getting the responsibility for that. Just give me the work as expected at that point, because we are really in critical case. If you follow this plan and it failed, it's my responsibility. That's why I get the hard part from it. So it's kind of just let them relax, but yes, please follow me here. Something like that. It's kind of emergency case. I have something, it has to be done in 3 months and we have still only 15 days to finish it and almost nothing is working. So something like that. So I deal in this way. Okay, this is how to work on it. It's the best way to do it. Okay, do it my way. This is how I, and if it's failed, it's my responsibility. And also it's not awards that mean.
Success? Was it a success at the end?
Yes.
Okay, and did you then
meet
with the team
why
afterwards and talk about it?
No, I didn't make it like that. At that point, no. Honestly, just I will back to Magdi's words. Yes, at that time, it's their work at the end. They follow, and I know that they are all upset, but even with that, they follow what I suggest. So at that point, it's really they have to get the credit for that. So no, it's almost there is one minute when you are one moment when you are decide to be fair really toward yourself and toward your team and also toward your clients even. So that moment it's making the decision. Okay, at that point you have to make the correct decision. Again, yes, I'm considered force them to follow something, but because this was my rule, this was my task in that project. Okay, go ahead, fix what's happened. And it was clear, I don't care how, go ahead and make it. So I receive assignment and I do it my way, that's all.
But do you know how the team felt? Like, was the team happy at the end?
No, after that, I fixed the relationship with the team. Yes, they was happy because it succeeded. That means it's tough 2 weeks, but after that 2 weeks and when everything is settled in correct way, yes, I back to my let's say nice personality. I'm not nice, but yes, I act nice sometimes. So yes, I just invite them for some dinner. I speak why I act like this and make it more friendly. So at that point, everything's solved. They was happy because it succeeded. It's done. And when it's done, nobody will think how much hard it is. Right now, they have to celebrate. And during that celebration, you can convey your messages. That's all.
It's interesting because I find just from my own personal experience that I actually see this. I've done what you've done many times in the past when I was in consulting in particular, and I would spend hours working on projects to get them just right, because I was the perfectionist and I was the one who wanted to make sure that the clients were happy. And that led to a very fast moving up in the organization. So I made it to director in 6 years, which was great. But one of the things that I realized as a result of that for myself was that in always taking so much on myself, I overworked. I wasn't having balance in my life. And, it's easy to do when you're young to not have balance because you have so much energy and you have so much ego and you have so much, I want to be the best. I want to be the top. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it wasn't really until till I got to my late 20s that I was like, whoa, I am burning out. This is tough. Like, why am I burning out? And I was burning out because I was always the one taking on the extra slack. I was always the one volunteering for the extra slack. And it's not bad in and of itself, but I do think that it's self-destructive. I think that at a certain point, it's really better to fail together, for lack of a better term, because then everybody understands what's involved and you're not the one who's constantly covering everything. It adds up. It's incremental. And after a while,
yes, there is a small difference between, yes, I agree with all what you said. It's only that I'm not the perfectionist. In general, whenever I receive 10 tasks, I look for the 3 that I'm not going to meet. Okay, this 3, it will never happen. Go ahead. Let's work on the other 7 and let's meet them. So somehow even I decide at that point in my plan, what really we are not going to meet. We know that 2 weeks will never reach that point, but what's really make a difference with the client. So when you receive it, it will be useful. So no, let's say I somehow I'm pragmatic on that way. Yes, because I already start with, okay, let's remove 30% of the work. It will never happen. And it's my task to convince the client why it's not happened. And then let's work on the other 70% and let's meet it 100%. That means I reduce the balance, the load on the team. And this is something I always do it. I always do it like this. But there is two differences. If I have a time, I will do it to complete the 30% of my way. I don't know if it's correct or not, but yes, I keep, let's say, the final results to me when I'm in charge. If I don't have a time, this 30%, it will be out. It's not now. It's totally new sprint. It will be built for it, or new project, something like that. I will keep it out, and I will find all, for sure, not randomly choose 30% of the work to keep it out. No, I have evidence about why we have to keep it out right now. So in that way, yes, at the end, why he is leader, because it's just like, maybe we can name it driver, better than leader. At the end, it's a vehicle moving on the highway somehow, sometimes highway, sometimes in good place. Okay, if he make a mistake, everybody will pay for that. So that's why the responsibility has to be on the driver somehow.
I just want to say I'm very encouraged by all it's saying, and I'm enjoying being quiet for a change. You guys, please keep going. I'm kind of taking notes too.
Oh my God. let me go, sir, because it's a learning opportunity for me. So one thing I want to start from the issue of who is a manager and who is a leader. So anytime I say this, I think we are creating more complex word for ourselves. So because most of the time I believe a manager should be a leader, while a leader should also be a manager. It's the same thing, but what we should differentiate is who is a manager by nature and who is a manager by role, which is a very different thing. And let's assume we have a manager by role. One thing that I noticed that usually creates problem is that when your team does something and the benefit of that thing comes, although they have their own salaries from that and benefit, but a leader that decides to keep all the 100% of his own earning as well is bound to fail at some point managing those people. Because if you know that those things that you have, that you are being credited for, is also a part of those people's effort, and you decide to give, like, let's say 10% for instance, and you decide to give it to them, and you let them know that this thing is coming from your own credits, they will ensure that they always do better next time, and they will ensure that you remain in that position. They will not want somebody else, because they will have tested a lot of other managers, which is not easy for everybody to do. That's one thing. But now, from your initial question, that if somebody has a leader and is not a leader, I mean by role, I think one thing we should do is, like, this is why it is good for leaders to always open their doors for people to come and ask them questions and complain about them. So this person, if he goes to take charge of the team and tell them, let's do it, that leader, the original leader, will feel challenged, that his authority is being challenged. And this is the beginning of toxicity in a company. But if that person decides to do it, other people will see it. But one thing is that at that point, the leader is watching, the original leader is watching what is happening. But what could have been done is that person should identify who among the team is mostly trusted by the leader. Then you tell that person that you think this task can be done like this. So that person can meet the manager, and the manager can maybe take advice from that. And you come as a leader to meet your team and you say, okay, I have an advice from one of you and I think like this. So what do you think we should do? So if you ask them how the job will be done before you even assign it to them, go and do it. I don't care how we get it done. That's a problem. But if you ask them, if you do meeting before every hard task, and you ask them, do you think we can meet it? How do you think? Why do you think so? And things like that. I think that will go a very long way, and things like that. So I have many things to say, but I've been told sometimes that I do talk a lot. So let me, I'm trying to keep it short all the time now.
Magdi, I interrupt you, and then we go in discussion with Kim and then Aziz, and you still have something to add. So sorry for that. But anything?
Yeah, I was just trying to say that, I'm just recalling where I stopped. So it is a complex thing, basically, that who is a leader, who's a manager, who is in leading position, who is in managing position, who is a manager, who is a leader as well. So there are overlapping parts. But if I concentrate on someone who is there because he's the manager and he has this leadership quality, so that he's also a leader, or at least that was my personal experience, I considered myself that I'm responsible for this team as like a tutor as well. That I have to make sure that everything is done, the deadlines are kept, but I have also responsibility to achieve that through the team. And that's why I have to be also a supporter, a tutor, because I have to notice that if somebody is stuck, for example, or cannot make the deadline, and I have to deep into it, why? And then I have to give the support that, okay, then maybe you have too much on your plate, or something came between, or you just stuck because of knowledge, because something is missing. And then I have to come in or step in and say, okay, what do you need? Or let's sit down and look at the situation from outside. Okay, where are we now? What happened? What are your blockers, for example? That's for example, you cannot finish the project, or you cannot reach the deadline with the expected result. So I really took it as a responsibility as well, that I'm not put there only because of the position, but I have a responsibility towards the team to lift them up to a level that they can perform, and they can fulfill the expectations from the company or from my managers, so we can deliver. And for that, that's why I'm saying that the credit goes to the actual executor. It is like coordinating. I feel as a leader also that is a coordinator, that you are checking, okay, everything is fine. It is like being a teacher, tutor, whatever you say, that you just look at them as your children a little bit as well. That and also regarding ambitions and what they want to do, if that task fits them or not, can we add a different role to their responsibilities? So for me, it was very important, and to give the feedback that, I'm not the one who's achieving this. It is, I'm depending on you. So the credit should go to you. And if something goes wrong, then I have to look at it. What was my responsibility and what went wrong with them and with me? What could I have done in a different way to have a better performance or a better outcome of this whole situation? And maybe this is idealistic, but for me, it worked. I had really a reliable, good team, and I tried to build a team who could rely on each other. So it was really like they had to cooperate. And I said, if there is an issue, you can always come to me. But since I'm not physically there in the office, you have to rely on the people who are physically there and discuss it and cooperate together and solve the issue. And then we can also discuss. So I always organize brainstorming, for example, to look into it deeply, or because they have also ideas. I have my style, what I thinking, but I always say that, I want to have the outcome. How you are doing it, it's your stuff. Figure it out, what works for you, what tools you need, and if you need support, tell me. Yeah, and we will figure it out. How can we make it better? And it, I have to say, it really worked. And they were really totally different individuals, totally different backgrounds, nationalities even. And
I make this question in general when the leader, he is leader but not leader officially, because I want to highlight this has happened before I moved here to Germany, and there is something I think whoever worked in, for example, in Middle East, in Dubai or Saudi Arabia or something, there is the sense of urgency always. This is something, it's really stressing everybody working there. That means there is no deadline. Always the task required yesterday. I'm talking literally. That means it's not something that always when somebody asks you for a task, he will ask you how much time you need, and then he will tell you, but this is needed yesterday, so even this time you don't have it fully. Go ahead and find the way. Now at that point, yes, even if somebody is stressing or add pressure to the team member, he added for them, because also there is some from personal lives point of view for each one, there is critical outcome to their personal life if some task is not met. So even pressure there, it will be for the team members. Now, if we move to some kind of really well formed or planned project ventures, and then it's coming in very, let's say, suitable methodology to follow to perform the task, at that point I agree 100% with you, Magdi, because yes, it's most of the time you are depending on your team, you are helping them to find what they are good on and what where we are able to grow, and also you will grow with them. Also, this is something very important. It's not only you are leading them and you are, let's say, depend on them. Also, they are give you at the end, especially in our sector, they are all professionals. They have a huge skill set, so you will learn from them. It's only depending on level of urgency that you are acting with. Some high level consideration always to be, let's say, hyperparameter of your work, what you have to always keep in mind, and how really these hyperparameters can change the behavior of the team totally. So, but the target of all of this, again, I will back to the first point I spoke about. I don't think when you are in a job, there is something called silver bullet that always, if you did that, you will be succeeded. Nothing like this. It will be happen. And sometimes it's, yes, I agree with Kim here. Yes, group fail, it's better than personal success. Also, this is something will be helpful sometimes. But you have to make it, you have to be aware about when to decide to fail. Yes, also as group.
I have been transferring my notes of all the wisdom you guys have been sharing into a post that I just released. I like to cap us at the 2-hour point. Magdi, the true boss of our family, and she sometimes listens to me. We will decide for sure what we do next week. But we do have a plan. We're just waiting to hear back from some people. But I got to tell you, I love it when we have the guests and I get a lot of value from them. But most of the time, I'd rather just listen to you guys and, be inspired what you're sharing and give you as much as I can from my mostly hard-earned lessons and some of my easy-earned lessons too. But this has been great. And Kim, I really appreciate a lot of what you shared, because sometimes to see you is so huge. And it's great to hear that you had to learn some of the same hard-earned lessons that I had to learn. So thanks to everyone. I think we should probably sign off, unless I've been encouraging Guy to, you know how I try to take what I'm hearing y'all saying and summarize it into smaller bites. And I'm encouraging Geith to do more of that because I love his mind and but all of you too, let's help each other summarize into, models, paradigms that we can help each other take away. For myself, I realized be as quiet as workplace wise. Be as quiet as possible while you're caring intensely for your teammates. If we do that, if we show that we really care about them with our actions in as few words as possible, I think that masters a lot of what we've been talking about. But it means, and I had to, when I was teaching dog training, and I'm not trying to equate interacting with humans with dog training, but yes, a little. I had to teach, I said, I'm not here. It is easy for me to teach a dog to do something. What's really hard is to teach a human to teach a dog to do something. I'm going to tell you, your biggest thing is you care more about your own feelings about your dog than you care about your dog. Because sometimes to care about your dog, you're going to have to be instantaneously harsh with it. So it gets the message because it doesn't communicate the same way we do. And once they got over that hump to realize if I really care about my dog, sometimes I have to do the hard things. And so, but for us, sometimes for the dog, we got to be willing to receive this feedback, but I think it's even harder to give it sometimes. So care and be quiet. Anyway, I'm sure there's better models we could use than that, but there's a starting point. Let's keep creating good models from what we've talked about. Yes, Guy.
No, I found it very, very nice, really. It's really good model. Now, from my point of view, to add to it, let's say, by the way, just something, when Vashishta was posting something this week, I read it when I was going to the aircraft, just flying. It was, I think, strategy, tactic can make things work, but strategy, it was adding a value. Okay, I agree with on that. Okay, no doubt about that. But again, strategy is built over the tactics. That means when you are not good in tactics or your team is not good in tactics, whatever was the strategy and how much it's brilliant, it will not work. So to summarize all of this, keep things simple, keep your tactics simple and result oriented, and be ready to give a credit to all of your colleagues. This is my model.
So much more to share, but we're a little over 2 hours and I want to be considerate to everyone. But this doesn't mean we can't. Ashish has already suggested another segment to all of this. And I think it's both, Ashish, correct me if I'm wrong, being a good manager and being a good person under your manager. Is that accurate, Ashish?
Just let me also recall once again. It was about the one-on-ones. There were two points that I suggested. One is creating effective one-on-one with your manager or even with your team members. The second one is basically differentiating between the being a manager and leaders. But I think we discussed much of it today.
Excellent. Yeah, I think so too. But again, don't ever hesitate to reach out to Magdi or me or any of the Steward team to suggest, things that we add. But we are working hard to be ever better at more together. So with that, let's do the